Thank you for joining us again for this week's episode of Monday Afternoon Roundtable. My name is Jason Munday, and this is my big brother,
David Munday. Good to see you.
Today we're going to have a very good episode, an interesting episode. It's going to follow along our duties as a PI and private security. In order for us to carry our firearms, we have to qualify. And it's the same course for PIs as it is for private security. And this whole week we've been in training, which anytime we do that, it's always a fun time because we get the whole group together and we always learn something new. And today's episode, we're going to have our instructor, Jeremy Norville of Burke Gunnery. He's going to come in and talk a little bit about what it involves with the qualification process. Do you have anything?
No, it was just a fun day. I mean, because we both, or all of us boys, enjoy shooting.
Yeah. So
anytime we get to shoot as part of our job, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's been a while for me as far as the range goes. So I had to go practice a little bit to get my timing back down, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but it's like riding a bicycle. You still,
no, kind of.
Yeah, but you still had to get just back in the groove.
I had to zero it in.
Yeah.
I had to get everything kind of focused because my eyesight has changed and gotten a little older. And so, yeah, it took a little bit to get it back.
All right, well, Jeremy, come on in and we'll get you going. And
Jeremy, we're going to put you in the middle in the hot seat.
Sounds good.
And the question I have, Jeremy, is how many of these do you do a year? How many training sessions like this do you do?
Roughly 25 or 30 a year.
Wow. And it's mandatory for of course, law enforcement. They have to do it annually or biannually? Biannually. And in the accreditation component where I go out and do the inspections, that's one thing we find sometimes where an officer will not be trained properly.
Absolutely.
Or they'll forget the training, or they call in sick during that time frame, and then they forget to make it up, and then it causes problems down the road. So
yeah, you got to watch out for the lapses more than anything.
Right. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that all of our qualifications are in line with the mandatory requirements and is strict, as it should be.
Absolutely.
So, and the biggest thing we look at as far as our company goes is safety. We want to make sure that no one gets hurt, and that if by chance that we have to fire a weapon, that we do it properly and we do it professionally. I mean, and I guess that's kind of stretching a little bit, but you want to do the best job you can because it's a dangerous weapon. So,
absolutely.
Jeremy, talk a little bit about the course of fire, and it's the exact course of fire that law enforcement has to qualify on.
Yes.
And in private security or PIs, we have to shoot an 80 percentile. But tell us just a little bit of rundown about the course of fire, daytime, nighttime, things like that.
So it's basically just a daytime course. Start out at 3 yards, work our way back from 5 to 7, 15 and 25 yards. You're going to shoot a maximum of 50 rounds for the daytime, and then same thing for the night, but we only go back to 15 yards at nighttime.
And with that course of fire, do you think, in your opinion as an instructor, I agree with, I think it is, but the question I'm going to ask you, that the course of fire is realistic to what a person may encounter that may have to use deadly force?
Absolutely. We set our courses up based on real-time situations and real-life situations. So someone, say, 3 to 4 feet away, you may not necessarily have a chance to put both hands on the weapon. So that's where our one-handed firing comes in. Then we also employ nighttime shooting techniques with flashlights and strobe lights for regular patrol vehicles and such stuff as that. So we try to make it as realistic as possible. And
you have magazine changes. You shoot weak-handed, kneeling, and prone. So it covers about any option or scenario that could be possible. Also, what should a person who is thinking about going to security school or private security and has never shot a gun, in your opinion, do they need to practice before they take this class? This is not a...
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a stressful course as far as physically stressful, but it's one of those things that you still need to practice and be proficient with a firearm, just like people go to driver's ed before they start driving on the road.
Yep. Would you say that the vast majority of your students pass the course?
Oh, absolutely. I would say roughly in the 90 to 95%.
And Jeremy, those that do have problems, which I'm sure you have some,
Right.
what's the biggest problem that you see on the range?
Biggest problem I would say is not focusing on the front sight more than anything.
Right.
As simple as that.
And it's tough. It's tougher than it sounds.
Oh, yeah.
When you get that weapon out and you start firing it several times, it changes. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
gotta-
It does. It changes.
but it's something that we have to do. So we make sure that we keep everything in order and in line, and we bring a good man in to teach us to make sure we're doing it right. We have how many this week? 9, 10?
9.
Yeah. No, and the good thing, I'm an experienced shooter. I've been shooting for 25 years, shooting this course
Right.
for 25 years, and I learned something new today. You know,
Yes,
so
did
that,
I? Yes.
you know, you're never too old to learn or never too experienced to learn. So that's the great thing about it. Jeremy, tell us a little bit about your background, so people will realize, you know, you're just not some Joe Blow off the street that,
Okay.
you know.
So I was in the military. I was in part of the United States Air Force. I was a firearms or combat arms instructor for them. I started in 2003. I've been teaching from 2003 to 2009. I was a military police member, part of the Air Force One detail crew for a while. I've been around guns my whole entire life. Probably been shooting since I was 5 or 6 years old, and I'm a little bit farther ahead in life than that now. But you know, I've been teaching security for several years now, and I love it. You know, it's just one of those things that I just kind of fell into, and it grew on me, and here I am.
And once people get certified in private security to be able to carry their firearm, or a PI being able to carry the firearm, it's a skill that if you don't practice, you lose.
Absolutely.
And you went over several drills today, or practice scenarios that you can do that doesn't require ammunition or require, you know, very minimal resources.
Right.
And, you know, going to the range and actually throwing live fire rounds down range every couple of months or
Which
something.
is costly.
Yeah, but, you know, the dry firing exercises, some other things like that, working on your grip, your draw. Each person is different. And do you get enjoyment out of helping diagnose and solve problems when you see a shooter?
Absolutely.
Because no shooter is perfect.
No, absolutely not. But it's, you know, working with people, and when they get that aha moment of when they actually see their round start impacting exactly where they were aiming, that's probably the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, it's reward. You see that where your work and they're working and learning, and it's all coming together.
Right.
And it takes a little bit.
I hope you see that aha moment tomorrow several times.
Yeah.
Because it's
I think y'all will do all right.
Oh, I'm hoping so. But we're going to the Springs Road Gun Club, where where the company has a corporate membership there. So we'll get I think we'll shoot 4 at a time probably.
Yeah.
And to make sure everyone gets through properly and gets the best training, one-on-one training sort of.
Yeah.
And we'll get through the course, and then we'll be good till next year at this time. So.
Now next year we just have to recert if I do everything correctly.
And that would just be the training or the gun, the shooting.
It's a
Shooting
4 or 5 hour class,
Right.
basically, and it's just a recert where you shoot the qualification again and go over a couple of classroom procedures.
Yeah,
Legal
we
updates,
just kinda
things.
hit on the fundamentals, go back over the law.
Mhm.
You know, just kind of make sure everybody's still up to snuff on where everything's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Well, and Jason, you'll agree with the times that have changed like they are. A lot of people are carrying firearms
Oh, yeah.
now, more so than when I worked the road as a law enforcement officer. Back then, very seldom did you see someone carrying a concealed weapon. That was very seldom. You'd see it out in the open, and they would tell you they had a firearm in the car or whatever. But now, more times than not, people are carrying.
Yeah. And that's another thing that you do, Jeremy. You also teach concealed carry classes.
I teach concealed carry, and I perform the mental background checks.
That's right, through the state of North
through the
Carolina.
state of North Carolina.
Wow.
So
We actually did 53,000 last year.
that's amazing, isn't it?
Compared to what, 5 years ago? Do you know, or do you know the data? Or?
30,000.
Wow.
So it's went up probably nearly 50%.
I do know from the classes that we teach of the concealed that the time you submit your paperwork with the sheriff's office and the turnaround time has gotten longer
It has.
over the last several years.
And that's even in the smaller counties. You know, not really to name any of them out in particular, but you know, larger counties take take a lot longer,
Oh, yeah.
because of the per capita rate.
Sure.
And Jeremy concentrates on the safety. He even boils it down to the child safety in the home, and
Absolutely.
and protecting your weapon, making sure it's secure and in a secure place for a toddler or a small child that may get involved with or find a weapon. And I think the data will show this, that a lot of the law enforcement children are unfortunately either accidentally shot with a firearm or suicide a lot of times. And so it's just important to make sure that firearm is secure. And Jeremy goes over all that to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to. And tomorrow we're just going to go out there and throw a few rounds down the range and see how well we do.
Yeah, and I think we'll all be successful. I think it'll be a good day tomorrow. We've got a very good team approach to this. Everybody's rooting for everybody. We've got a great instructor who's helping us. Like I said, nobody's a perfect shooter, and each time if you learn something is always a good thing. And
Absolutely.
do you think, in your opinion, has the business of private investigations and private security, have they elevated the business? What I'm trying to say is, are they more reputable now with the firearms training? The training is as good as it can get
Compared to what it was.
Yeah, that's why as
20
good as
years
anybody
ago.
else.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's top notch. Is what I'm trying to say. I mean,
It's came a long way.
I don't know what other states do, but I would suspect some states don't have this strenuous of training for firearms
They
qualifications.
didn't used to. A lot of states have actually bumped theirs up as well. So it's really coming around.
Okay, that's good, and that brings up it gives it a more professional edge to the business.
Right.
Now, how often do you have to recert as an instructor through the state of North Carolina? Yearly, and you have to shoot
90 or better.
90 or better. And when you first initially got certified, you had to go through a 2-week course.
Just 1 week.
1 week, okay.
1 week course.
And you had to qualify 6 times, right?
Yes.
With a 90 percentile or better.
Correct.
Okay. And they teach you different kind of training techniques for the handgun and all that, right?
Mhm. Yeah, they teach everything that I teach you guys.
Okay.
I don't want to, shortchange y'all by keeping secrets hidden away in my little magic hat or anything like that. So I try to give you guys everything that was given to me.
David, I want to point this to you, and don't take any disrespect when I say this. How has training gotten better or worse since when you first started in 77, 78, 79?
Yeah. The training's, well, I'll just, back in the day when I first started, firearms training was a priority, and all the range officers were top notch. You didn't have training officers that were incapable. They had to all meet that criteria to be a
So it's
firearms
always
trainer.
been
Always been, but today it's just a little better, I think, because of the legal updates that all the officers must go through, as far as the use of force continuum, what they need to do as far as lethal force versus less lethal force. I think it's explained a little better now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but now I think the firearms instructor, especially for the law enforcement officers, they have to go through all those things annually with the legal updates.
Absolutely.
And to bring them up to date, because laws change.
Right.
And so they have to understand what the laws are for their particular state in relation to or in regard to when they have to use their weapon. And it happens. You use yours in line of duty. Tim's used his. We've all had to use our weapons at some time or another. Luckily, law enforcement officers, they have less lethal weapons as well. Do you train anything with that?
I don't do anything particularly less lethal.
Okay. And we've come a long way. That's where
Yes.
we've made the biggest.
And it used to be just the sidearm and maybe a
nightstick or
Yeah.
a flapjack or
Yeah.
whatever.
so it has come.
Now we got the OC spray, you got the electronic control device, all kind of things that are out there now for officers to use in a defense, which that's good. In lieu of going straight from no use of force to lethal use of force, something's got to happen there pretty quickly, and it does from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
You have to kind of skip some of those other things. But that's the biggest change I've seen in the law enforcement portion of it, where officers are better trained.
Yeah.
More so than just going out on the firing range and shooting a gun. They understand why
Yeah.
they have to do those things. So, well, it's been great, Jeremy. I appreciate you taking the time. We've had a good time with the class. Tomorrow is going to be fun, and we're going to throw a few rounds and see what happens, and hopefully we'll all be in the middle with a little nice pattern.
Hopefully not that
or it's
big.
going to look like a shotgun.
I do want to say one thing before, or two things before we leave. We are not today going to do the last call because we're doing firearms training and we have guns present, but we'll get back to that soon. We might even do one later on and include in this episode. We'll play it by ear. And the last thing I want to do is just reiterate Jeremy Norville, Burke Gunnery. His phone number is 828-448-4918. He's also a gunsmith and also does North Carolina hunter education and has a Facebook page of Burke Gunnery.
And I just want to give our listeners a little heads up. We're going to have an episode probably in a couple weeks. And I want you to look forward to it because it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be called Lawyers, Guns, and Money. And we're going to have an attorney come in who I've worked with before, and we've handled several murder cases, but one in particular that went on for several weeks, and our side was favorable in the outcome of that trial. So the attorney's going to come in and talk. He's got a great sense of humor. He's a very colorful gentleman, and so I know you're going to enjoy that portion of it. And he'll stay for the last call, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So thank you again. Look forward to seeing all of you again. Until then, be safe.